Good evening, Abram.
Hey, how's it going?
Wonderful. Yourself?
Not bad, not bad. Uh, so, yeah, not bad.
That's good to hear.
My glasses have a big smudge on them. I'll have to fix it. I'll try to wipe it out in a sec. So, everything going okay?
Yeah. Getting ready to go on a vacation. The first one I've been
Really?
on that's like an actual proper vacation in
Oh, really?
15 years.
Wow. I haven't been
Yeah.
on one in a while either. Where are you going?
Um, we're gonna go to Tennessee to do a big circle. So Tennessee, Ohio, Chicago, Colorado, NOLA, and then back home.
Cool.
So, yeah. Noel wants to see part to the country that he hasn't seen yet while he's here.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Hmm.
there is an initial timer on that, so
Oh, sorry to hear that. Um, so,
we know what we're up against.
so what? So I read the stories for today,
Okay.
and I think so. I think a good one for today would be the. Did we talk about this last time? I don't.
I don't know.
Sub $500. How to build a
No,
PC for under $500.
no.
So
I saw that article get published though.
yeah. So yes, you can now build a PC for under 500, perhaps even under $400.
Wow, that's
Like a
that's
gaming
crazy.
a gaming quality PC. So we could talk about the parts that you could use to get that. I think that's a good one considering people always want to save money.
For sure.
So um, so yeah, I think that's good.
Cool. That sounds good to me. All right. And oh, I get to announce the opening of Strike. We have an official date now, as of about an hour and a half ago.
Oh, neat.
So, very excited. And I've been restoring old episodes. Ooh, do I want to talk to you about that after the show?
Okay, sure
That's,
thing.
that's been quite an experience. All right, I think I've got
Okay.
everything in place. If you're good to go, I'm good to go.
Yep.
All right, I will hit record. Turn off that music. All right. This week, gaming is getting better in Microsoft Edge, results are getting better in Brave Search, and ads are closer to reality in Netflix. It's Sunday, June 26th, 2022, and this is episode 625 of F5 Live Refreshing Technology, a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Wherever you are and however you're accessing our show, whether it be on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Snapchat, through a podcatcher like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, TuneIn, or a myriad of other options, through our live stream platforms, livestream.com, Twitch, or YouTube, where you can join the community and get ad-free versions of F5 Live and Pilchpoint, or on our website, PLUGHITZLive.com. Thank you for making us a part of your day. There are two ways that you can do that. The first is Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can go to f5live.tv/join us. There, you can chat with us in the studio, give us your feedback on the topics as we talk about them. If you're not able to join us live, that's okay. PLUGHITZLive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows, including F5 Live, Pilchpoint, PLUGHITZ Live Presents, and a whole lot more. And of course, find all the different ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along. this has been a big week over here. We've got all kinds of interesting stuff going on over here, but before we get into that, Avram, how are you doing this evening?
Not bad, not bad. It's been a 3D printing kind of week. So you may notice I have two 3D printers behind me now.
Yappers.
The one over here is the old one. That's the Elegoo Neptune 2, and then I have next to it the Elegoo Neptune 3, which I just got recently. And the 3 is better. It has a really great auto bed leveling feature, so it's a lot easier to get your prints to be level. But what I found interestingly is that these printers really work best when you attach a Raspberry Pi to them, and then you use a program called Octoprint, which allows the Raspberry Pi to serve as the control interface for the printer. So it will send, and that makes the printer wireless, which it otherwise wouldn't be.
Oh,
so you go
nice.
to the Octoprint becomes a server on your local network. So you just go to it in your browser, and then the Octoprint can use a camera to watch your print for you. And it allows you to upload stuff. It has a lot of cool features.
Yeah.
But besides just the cool features, I found that without Octoprint, I couldn't program the printer, even though it's something other printers can do, to pause.
Yes.
But with this, I can. So what I was able to do is, if you see this little logo set that I've made, this is
That's so
a
cool.
Tom's and a hardware. And one of the big problems with 3D printing is having multiple colors, because filament is just one color, so at a time, unless you get rainbow filament, but even then you don't have control of which color
Right.
it is. So what you can do is you can program a pause into it, so it pauses at a particular layer. So in these cases, I had it paused like right as the letters are starting. So, and then change the filament from red to black. And on this one, I did the opposite. I
That's
printed the
so
box in
cool.
black and had it pause right when the letters are starting, and changed it to red. So the so anyway, that like pause command or whatever apparently does not work natively with this printer. But if you have Octoprint, what it will do is the Octoprint will just pause sending the information to the printer. And
Got it.
then it will when it will be effectively paused until you tell Octoprint to resume.
That's really
Because
cool.
one thing a lot of people might not know about 3D printing is that 3D printers use their own, depending on what firmware they have, they use their own language, like their own code language. And so if so you can open up a G code file, which is like a 3D print file that gives 3D print instructions, and you can read it or change it or whatever, because it's just a text file of code that's going over to the printer and interprets it. So Octoprint takes the printer out of that business and starts just sending the commands directly to the printer instead of them coming off of an SD card or whatever. So anyway, that's been cool.
Yeah, I
I'm
know
trying
that
to figure
was
out what other
we
cool
t-
stuff I can
last
do.
time. Last time we talked,
Yeah.
you were saying how you wished you had that capability. So it's really cool that you found a way to make that work.
Yeah, 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 exactly. So that's the trick. But yeah, Octoprint, perhaps the best use ever I've seen for it. I mean, there's so many great uses for Raspberry Pi, but this
Yeah.
one is like tops, because it really transforms your 3D printing experience.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm glad that you found a way, and I gotta say, those Tom's Hardware blocks look really cool. Do they? Is one in like a track on the other one, or are you just holding
no,
them together?
there.
Okay.
I'm just
Eh,
holding them
okay.
together. I
It
mean,
it looked like
that
it
would
was
be
sliding too nicely.
that would yeah, that would be cool. But I thought about putting. I mean, there's a practical purpose for this. So when we take pictures of stuff we're reviewing, whatever, we want to have this next to whatever we, instead of a watermark, we want to have this
Yeah.
or something like it. So the so that's why I'm making a bunch of these to send to the staff, each person on the staff, so they can take, some of our freelancers too, so they can take pictures with this in it. And anyway, so
That's a great
yeah,
idea.
it's I mean, for the purposes of taking a photo, it doesn't really matter. But I mean, if you were trying to really make it, I mean, as long as you don't knock it over, it's all good. But if you're worried about it, I mean, I think double-sided tape would do the job, but I'm worried that that would show up in a photo. Plus, there's
Yeah.
some flexibility here because you could do this too, right? So, um, so anyway, that's the that's how it. But you know, there are
I
many
like it.
uses for multicolor. There are many uses for multicolor
Sure.
stuff. I mean, you might want to print a model or something like that, where part of it's one color and part of it's another, and you can
Hmm.
insert the pauses. I mean, it still doesn't take the place of, you know, things. Everything on the same layer has to be the same. So if you're doing a
Right.
face or something, you can't have like the teeth be white and like the cheeks over here be a different color because they're all in the same layer.
Right.
So it's not quite as we would want per se, but uh, you know, it's getting there. I mean,
It's a great start.
remember we were much younger and printers couldn't do color. I don't know if you remember that, but I do.
Yes.
And
Yes, I do.
yeah, mhm.
Oh, how
So
technology has changed.
right. So you know, we're looking for that to happen with 3D printing sometime. But right now, this is our best bet for actually getting some color on it.
And it looks like it works real well. Over on this side, lots of things going on. First, for anybody who's been around for a while, you may know that there are a bunch of old episodes of both F5 Live and the Pilch Point that have been missing off of our website. We had a storage issue a number of years ago, maybe
Oh,
a year and a half ago. There are a bunch of episodes that have been missing. Well, guess what? I found like 100 of the 185 that are missing, and they are all processing right now and are in the works to get back online. I'm really excited about that. Probably tonight, there's about 40 old episodes that will be available from episode 237 through 280 or so, 279, something like that. Should all be online again tonight. I'm really excited about this. And I got a bunch more to go. It is a long process because of where the files are, but it's working. We're getting them back. Um, I can't tell you how happy I am about this because it has annoyed me to no end that there was content missing, and the fact that I found it, hooray! Uh, so
so what you're saying is like you're like the BBC, because you know the
yes,
whole BBC thing with Doctor Who, where they
yes,
had their policy was to tape over things. So there were episodes of Doctor Who that have been lost forever
hmm,
because they didn't save the they didn't save the tapes.
yep, absolutely nuts. In our
Yeah.
case, a storage company went kaput at the same time that one of our hard drives went kaput.
Mhm.
But I always make backups, and I've literally got stacks. I think I calculated that I have just shy of a petabyte of hard drives in a stack. Well, obviously lots of stacks in the closet here in the studio, and going through all those drives at like 4 terabytes a piece has taken a long time. But I've found some episodes I'm really excited about. So there's that, and then we've been talking about it in kind of hushed tones for a while. Our team, unrelated to PLUGHITZ Live, but in partnership with PLUGHITZ Live, has a company, a new business coming. It's called Strike Esports. We will be opening in a bit of a soft launch on July 15th with a tournament on July 16th. That'll be a Saturday over at University Mall here in Tampa. StrikeEsports.com is the place to go to find out more information. The website's still a little bare right now, but bear with me while I get the rest of that information put up. Very, very excited about all of this. It's going to be, I'm so stoked. This has taken a lot of work. We're, 2.5 years into this project? So really excited to get this thing started. The 15th. Woohoo! But between now and then, unfortunately, we will not be having another episode because I will be out of town for a little bit of time. So anyway, I guess that's a stream of consciousness all at once. That's the next couple of weeks around here. Very excited about all of it, but we should probably get down to the news right now. What do you think, Abram?
Yep.
All right. This week's Nifty Gifties on F5 Live is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for a new laptop, a tablet, desperately seeking an Xbox, a brand new game, or a whole lot more, you can get them all at the Microsoft Store. And remember that current students, faculty, parents, and active military can save up to 10% on almost everything. To browse the products that are available and learn more about the discounts, you can go to f5live.tv/Microsoft. One of the topics that's been around for a little while with us has been the growing discomfort with the app stores, whether it be Apple's App Store or Google Play. There has been some discontentment with the way it works. The seeming monopolies, less so on Android than on iOS for sure, has led to some policies that have annoyed developers, publishers, and users, particularly the 30% cut that they take on in-app purchases that must be purchased using the company's own payment platforms, even though most of these developers already have their own payment platforms in place. We've talked about Epic Games suing Apple and Google and having to pull Valve into it and all kinds of interesting stuff. There's the App Fairness Coalition that has grown up because of this. But there's an interesting additional thing that's going on right now, which is an attempt to bypass the stores. One of the companies that is leading that charge is Parallels. No, not the Parallels that allows you to put Windows on a Mac, but with a Z. And this company is building a platform. They just got $3 million in investment, which isn't a ton of money, but they've done virtualization before. They're responsible for the virtualization of games on the Facebook gaming platform. They are working on putting together a platform that will allow publishers and developers to take their apps as built for iOS and Android, possibly Microsoft. They haven't talked about platforms specifically, but we know mobile apps, and push them directly to a web app store exactly as is, run exactly the same, and bypass the stores because it's on the web. It is a fascinating concept. I don't know exactly how they plan to do it. They haven't talked openly, as far as I know, about the technology behind it, but I don't know, Abram. I could see them doing something similar to how Microsoft does Xbox cloud gaming, right? And just streaming the software direct to your browser. There's nothing that says that has to be a game technology, right? Any software theoretically could do that.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing here is, okay, so the question is, how much is it going to have enough access to the hardware to compete with actual apps from the App Store? Are they going to have access to things like your sensors, your accelerometer? I mean, there are web APIs that give that give you some of that data. Although I think there's interesting questions about how persistent you can make it. Like, can you kind of have to have that, normally have to have that web page open. So is this parallels thing going to work even when you don't have that web page open?
So it's a fair question. I know, for example, I know I can get push notifications from the browser when the browser is not open. So there is some background persistence with, particularly, for sure, with Safari on iOS. Android has a more diverse browser ecosystem than iOS does. You can have browsers and you can even set default browsers now, but Apple does what it does with the way software works on their devices, and pinned websites as apps have to be done through Safari on iOS. So that means that Safari, you've got the capabilities of Safari. So maybe, I don't know. It's an interesting concept, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, I think that's the question. It is an interesting concept, but are they going to be able to do all the things that an app does?
Right.
I mean, by all rights, I think there are way too many services that would like you to use, that really nag you to use an app when it's perfectly okay to do it via the browser.
Sure.
And I would rather not have an app, because for exactly the reason that the apps do have more access to my information. So, and more access to persist. So, like Reddit, for example, I don't use mobile Facebook on my phone. I use the Facebook website,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I know that they hate me for it or whatever, because you know it's always nagging me. But the one that nags me the most is Reddit. Like,
Yeah.
Reddit really wants to punish you
The,
for not using the Reddit app
the little thing that comes up in the bottom, continue in
every
browser
single
or open
time.
or open
Yeah,
app. Yeah. Oh,
yeah, every single time. And my feeling about it is like, well, but I don't want to have all these apps running, because no matter if you close them, they are running in the background to an
yeah.
extent. They are doing things to an extent. And of course, they starts to give you more notifications that are hard to get rid of sometimes.
Very true.
So if something works is a website, I really don't see why I should have to install an app for it. Like Facebook, like basically all the social things, Facebook, Twitter,
Yeah.
Reddit.
Part-
Like, why I
particularly
visit you in the web browser on my computer.
particularly Twitter, since Twitter uses the PWA in a wrapper now for its mobile apps.
Like, why do you need it? Like, what is the point? It just gives them a way to further kind of dig into what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, or give you more alerts or whatever. I really want to avoid that. So, I mean, I think there's a school of thought, and I totally agree with that you should have mobile friendly websites and mobile friendly web services, so you don't need an app.
Yeah.
But there are some things that have just a lot more access, require a lot more access to the hardware.
Mm-hmm.
Games, like not games, are kind of in that group too. So I yeah, I think it's an interesting concept. I'd like to see how it works. Is it going to be able to do things like access the camera and the GPS?
Those I can tell you for sure. Yes. Uh,
Yeah.
there was there's more of them now, but there was that. It started with an A. I can't think of what it was called. That web-based native development platform many years ago. Um, that it doesn't matter. Apache got a hold, or Adobe got a hold of. And yeah, well, I could access GPS with an unbelievably accurate location. With that, I could access the camera in an almost identical way to to the native app experience. So those two I know for a fact will be possible. So I don't know. I want to see this thing in action. I'm not gonna lie. I want to see this thing in action. It's a fascinating concept. I want to know more technologically about what they're up to, because being able to take an iOS or an Android app and put it directly on the web without any code changes, which is their claim, is fascinating to me. It sounds a little bit like Microsoft's. I don't remember what they were called. They had two bridges, the mobile app bridges, one for Android and one for iOS. It sounds a little bit like that, where it just imported and became a Windows app with no code changes. But I don't know. I definitely want to see this thing in action.
Yeah, same.
Hopefully, we will get that chance, or maybe we can get a chance to sit down with them at some point in the near future and talk to them about what they're up to. And if so, we will definitely let you know about that. This week's Pilch Point with Avram Pilch is proudly powered by PureVPN. The best way to protect your privacy online is with PureVPN. You can hide your online activities, say goodbye to regional restrictions, and improve your streaming quality. Plus, it's available for almost all of your devices. And to get a special price and a 31-day money-back guarantee, you can go to pilchpoint.live/PureVPN. So you did something interesting this week, Avram, that I was following along on Tom's Hardware that I am really excited to hear more about.
So, obviously the topic of inflation and the cost of living going up are huge right now. But what if I told you that there's one area where costs might actually be going down, if not staying pretty stable, and that is the world of computer components.
Which would sound crazy to anybody who has been listening for the last year and a half.
Yes. Well, one thing that's going on is the crypto crash is having a very positive effect on graphics card stock, and I think stock of other components as well. You have to remember that for the last couple of years, there have been a lot of crypto miners, and we're not talking about an individual one person with a computer in their living room. We're talking about companies that buy farms of, I don't know, hundreds of, or maybe thousands of machines, and they set them up and they get multiple graphics cards per machine. And that had really, really driven up the cost and lowered the availability of graphics cards, and really hurt the industry more so than anything that had been going on with the pandemic, or problems with shipping stuff. The GPU shortage is a very serious problem. Now, it's suddenly over the last couple of months, and I think it's no coincidence that it's happening because the price of crypto is crashing. People are no longer investing in buying new crypto rigs, and so you're seeing the price of the cards return to reasonable prices near their MSRP, sometimes even below. And we're seeing that the price of other things that are other components, like CPUs and RAM and SSDs, is at least hanging pretty stable, if not low. So I was doing some research, and I figured out, by looking at the prices that are available, that one can build a pretty decent gaming PC for under $500. And you can build a like 720p capable gaming PC for under $400. Now, And I have an article about this on Tom's Hardware, but I want to talk about what you need to make these things happen. So, first of all, what's really important to keep in mind is that you is if you're spending $500, or less, you are going to have to make some compromises, but not as bad. It's not as bad as you might think. So let me pull up our configuration now. I should tell you that this is what it cost when I wrote the article a couple of days ago. Prices fluctuate. So if you got these exact components today, it might be $515. And tomorrow it might be $490. So, and you could also substitute, because some of these things, to be fair, are not, uh, you know, it's okay to get a different brand of RAM. The important components for a gaming PC under $500, ways this not with the graphics built in, so built into the CPU. So build, you need a
Hey,
Intel Core
hey, Abram. Abram.
i3.
We
Yes.
just we just broke apart there for a minute. So
Oh, okay.
I don't know what you just said. So if we can go back and hit that
Oh,
one,
okay.
if we can go back and hit that one more time.
Sure. Okay, sure. So what I was saying is that, uh, based on my research, the components on our in our that we recommend in our article add up to slightly less than $500. However, that was what it was, last Thursday. Perhaps today these same components will be $510, perhaps, or $490, because prices do fluctuate. But on the other hand, you can also find, substitute some parts, because the two most important parts are the CPU and the graphics card. Get a different brand of RAM if you need to. You can get a different brand of power supply if you need to, etc. So let's talk about that gaming PC that's under $500, and has a discrete graphics card. What you need is, right now, an Intel Core i3 12100F processor is your best bet. That has been selling for around $106. And you know what? It's not an old CPU. That is the current generation 12th gen processor with 4 cores and I believe a 4.3 gigahertz boost clock. So a good current generation CPU. To accommodate that CPU, you will need a H610 chipset motherboard. We found one selling for $89. Perhaps you'll find one cheaper, but we found one selling for $89 that had all the basic capabilities. And the video card that you can get at this price, in this price range, is any video card based on a AMD Radeon RX 6400. So you can get a Radeon RX 6400 card for $159. Now, I will say this: if you could splurge just $20 more, which I think most people could, then you would go over $500, but I would strongly recommend doing so, because then you could get a Radeon RX 6500, which is 30% faster for $20 more. So, in either case, you can play 1080p resolution games at least mid-range settings, with either of these cards. Although you'll do better with the 6500 than the 6400. You also are going to need a storage drive. The best deal that we found on a storage drive, this is a pretty good drive, is a Team Group MP33 M2 storage drive that gets, it's not the fastest drive on the market, but it's 1500 megabytes per second read and write approximately. and 512 gigabyte capacity is $42. Now, again, spending a little more money would help you out here because for $30 more, you can have a 1 terabyte model. Similarly, we went with 8 gigabytes of DDR4 PC 3200 RAM. Now, obviously, RAM, you've got to buy what we call dual channel RAM, which is a kit of 2 RAM sticks that are the same. So our 8 gigabyte kit, which is 2 4 gigabyte sticks, was $29 when last we checked. Now, again, I'd splurge a little bit because if you could go up to $47, you could get a 16 gigabyte kit, which would definitely be preferable. Rounding out our configuration, we have a 430 watt Thermaltake smart power supply that we found for $29. 430 watts is enough if you're using a low end, a 65 watt CPU like we have, and a relatively low end GPU like we have. But we also saw power supplies of 400 to 500 watts, anywhere in the $29 to $49 range. Finally, there's our case. The case was on sale at the time. The case that is on sale right now is the Corsair Carbide 175R, which is $44 after rebate. Now, that's that case is normally $65 or more. So by the time someone else wants to buy, you may have to go for a different case if you want to hit this price point. There are a few cases in the $45 to $50 range natively, such as I think Rosewell's X1, I think it's X1 HBM case, but it's not nearly as nice as the Corsair one. So all told, our config came to $498 for all of that. Now, we're not including the price of the operating system, and of course, we expect that you're going to get a keyboard and mouse if you don't have one, and a monitor if you don't have one. So we're just talking about the price of building the PC, but I think that's pretty decent.
Yeah, definitely. That's a surprisingly powerful little machine for that price.
Now, if you want to go even cheaper, we have configured a machine for under $400, $385 to be exact. And the way we did that one is no graphics card. For that, we're going with a Ryzen 5 5600G CPU, which gives you really the best integrated graphics experience around. Well, there's a slight step up in the Ryzen 7 5700G, but that is so expensive as to not be worth it. So the Ryzen 5 5600G sells for $164, and it gives you pretty decent graphics that can at least get you good 720p gaming and probably modest 1080p gaming. For that, you'll need a motherboard that has that is compatible with it. A lot of the older AMD motherboards that are the cheapest do not come with the right firmware out of the box to run a 5000 series chip. So be careful which one you get. We found that the ASRock B450M HDV R4 says that it is updated out of the box. But of course, we haven't tested to confirm that, but that is what the claim is. So you definitely want a motherboard that can, run the chip out of the box. And then we went with pretty much all the other parts the same 8 gigabytes of RAM, of Crucial RAM, the same 512 gigabyte SSD, and case and power supply. So the main difference is going to integrated graphics from discrete.
And like you said, integrated graphics today are not what they were just a couple of years ago. You can actually get some gaming performance out of it. Good 720 and okay 1080. You said.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's passable. It should be passable, and that actually is a pretty good chip because you're also getting six. I believe you're getting six cores out of that. So
Nice.
that's. I mean, that's so. I mean, if you were thinking about it, like, hey, I don't really. I mean, the integrated graphics actually would be fantastic if you're a person who doesn't really care, who's listening to watching this and doesn't really care that much about gaming and is more about, hey, I want a pretty decent PC and
Mm-hmm.
maybe I'll play a game. Um, then the 5600G is a great choice because it'll give you very decent graphics, but it'll also give you really solid productivity performance multi-threaded with the six cores that it has. So, um, so that's pretty good. But in both cases, I would, we were trying to hit a price point for the article, but I
Mm-hmm.
would really strongly suggest that folks spend another, $20 to $50 to upgrade the RAM from 8 to 16 gigs, and to go from, and if possible, to go from a 500 gig to a 1 terabyte SSD. Although the SSD is a little less critical because you can always buy another SSD later, whereas with the RAM, uh, depending on the motherboard, you might only have two slots, and then you would have to throw the RAM away if you wanted to replace it later. And really, 8 gigabytes is 8 gigabytes is not great. It's, you can live with it, but I would not personally run a computer with less than 16 gigabytes today.
Yeah, for sure. And just in the interest of full disclosure, this is coming from somebody who's sitting at a computer with 32. But yeah, I
Right. I mean,
I wouldn't go below
because you have
16.
your browser tabs open. You
Yeah,
have your browser tabs open, and so like you don't have to be a quote unquote power user. You just maybe have like, a person who likes to open new tabs a lot. You could end up very easily eating up those 8 gigs of RAM really fast and eating up 16 gigs of RAM uh, in short too, if you have enough
hmm
tabs open, and then your computer slows down a lot. So you definitely want to, I mean, going from 8 to 16, and the price differential is like, somewhere depending on what the price is right now between 16 and $20.
hmm
I would definitely spend it.
it's funny you say that. There was a meme going around this week that two frames. The top one said NASA 64K of RAM. We put a man on the moon. 2022, 32 gigs of RAM. Chrome tab angry.
Well, I think what it proves is that putting someone on the moon doesn't is about a lot of things other than the RAM, right?
Very
Um,
true.
Although one interesting thing that I have noticed, and I don't know why this is, but I'd be curious if someone could tell me, is that on Raspberry Pi, and this might be a Linux thing, the browser uses a lot less RAM
Huh.
than running the same Chrome browser opening similar websites on my Windows PC.
That that's definitely interesting. I don't know. It could just be, you know, the way the operating system is interacting with memory management, or who. There's all kinds of possibilities. Maybe Chrome
Yeah,
on the Raspberry Pi has an efficiency mode, like we're going to talk about with Edge in a minute. I don't know.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, it seems like, granted, I'm not normally opening like a ton of tabs on a
hmm
Raspberry Pi, but I have tried it, and it took a while. Like on an 8 gigabyte Raspberry Pi, it took a lot of tabs to max out that 8 gigabytes. I can max out 8 gigabytes of RAM in like 30 seconds on my with tabs on my desktop. So
Yeah, for sure.
I don't,
It
I don't know why that is.
yeah, the browser development on the PC seems to be not as much of a focus. I don't know. It's all very strange. But I think you said that you've already got this one out in the wild.
Yes, yes, it is. So come to tomshardware.com and you will find my article on how to build a gaming PC for under $500.
Fantastic. Well, as always, Avram, I appreciate this one in particular. I spent some time looking it over, as I am likely about to start building some PCs myself. So that was a fun piece of information. I know the viewers will appreciate it as well. And as always, I look forward to what we talk about next time. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live is proudly powered by EXA. EXA brings the latest technology to gamers, offering the most immersive products for the ultimate gaming experience with tech like Bluetooth 5.0, 7.1 surround, dual mics, ultra low latency in their headsets, and a whole lot more. They've got headsets for Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC, plus they won't break the bank, which is the best part. And to learn more about the headsets that are available and any current promotions, you can go to f5live.tv/exa. I just mentioned in the pilch point some stuff coming to Edge, and that has started this week. A couple weeks ago, Microsoft said that they had been working on some features that they had planned to roll out in the near future, and this week was it. Most of it is focused on gaming. We'll talk about the three big features that are gaming features. First is the new gaming homepage. If you have opened Edge in anything other than the minimized mode, you know that there's news tabs across the top with content. The gaming tab, which is new to the homepage, has all kinds of interesting stuff, like current scores for esports tournaments that are going on, links to enter future tournaments, results of past tournaments, news from all over the industry, including recently released and upcoming games. It's even got featured live streams. And in my research, I saw both YouTube and Twitch come across as featured live streams, showing that Microsoft is not giving any priority to one service over the other. Interestingly, I never encountered one on Facebook Gaming, despite the fact that that was who Microsoft partnered with when they shut Mixer down. So I don't know what's going on there, but didn't see anything. Maybe Facebook's API for finding out who's live in the gaming category just isn't as good. I don't know. But the really cool part is if you are a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber, you can see your games right there on that tab, so long as you're signed into the browser with that account. You can see your games. You can launch them directly from there and get right into the game without having to go anywhere. Really cool for people who are using the computer for gaming stuff. Obviously, I spend a lot of time in there. I spent a lot of time on the gaming tab this week, not just because of the article. I decided to write the article because I had spent so much time on that tab. There's a lot of information. I really was enjoying it, and it's well curated in a way that that I liked. And for people who are heavy into esports and things like Alante, that's going to be. I imagine he's going to spend some time on that thing. Have you gotten a chance to check it out, Avram?
No, I haven't really had a chance to do a lot of game streaming lately. But I think it's really cool that Microsoft is trying to differentiate by trying to make their browser more streaming friendly. I mean, it's interesting. Have you gotten to actually try the Clarity Boost? Can anybody try it now?
Yes. So it is. That's the next feature. Yes, that is 100% in the browser if you're on the most recent version of Chromium Edge, which on this computer I am not. I've got too many things open to close it and come back. But the Clarity Boost, I was glad to not have this one upgraded because I compared it to its twin, which does have the most recent Edge, and I had the same game basically side by side, and I mean edges that are supposed to be crisp are crisper. It's hard to describe, but you can definitely see the difference between the picture quality. Same game, same computer. Only difference is the browser version. And yeah, it was depends on the game. Some games were less obvious than others, but some games were massively different, which was pretty cool. It was a distinct visual difference. So, good on them for that one. The other interesting thing is the efficiency mode, which I mentioned a couple minutes ago in the Pilch Point. Efficiency mode is kind of the browser equivalent of what Microsoft added in Windows 10 for gaming. When you start a game, it has the ability to essentially hibernate everything else that's going on the computer if you turn that capability on. Edge can now do that. If you start gaming in the browser, Edge will essentially hibernate all of the other tabs to guarantee that you have all of the resources that you could possibly have, partially because of what we talked about in the Pilch Point, and that's the resource hogginess of modern browsers. Microsoft recognized it and said, all right, we'll release all those resources, and just hibernates everything for you. That's a cool capability.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important, obviously, whether you've got 8 gigs, especially if you've got 8 gigs of RAM, but maybe even if you've got 32, to be able to carefully marshal your resources. I also think it's about more than just like RAM too, right? Because if you've got things, for example, running in a background tab, they could still be eating up CPU resources and doing things there. So
because JavaScript is run on the fly, it uses resources, RAM, CPU, everything. Plus, you could have things that are in the background, pinging network services for updates. Facebook is obviously notorious for having a long running background thread for updates, and they're not far from the only one. You could have things that are, we talked about in the first segment. You could have things that are pinging for GPS and all kinds of things. All those resources can get freed up all at once.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I hope they're not going to do it to stuff that needs it, though, because I mean, you want your Gmail tab to be checking Gmail when it's in the background. It's not, there's a lot of things that you want to be going on in the background. So I hope that it's good about that.
If this ends up working, and I haven't messed around with the efficiency mode too terribly much. I guess not too terribly means something else. Anyway, if it works anything like the Windows 10 and Windows 11 mode, you can essentially whitelist certain apps, and in this case, probably certain domains would be my guess. So hopefully, if not, Microsoft, get on that, please, because you certainly have the capability of wanting certain things to be updating in the background, even if you are gaming. So, but I mean, this is a lot of interesting stuff. Interestingly, the clarity boost, while obviously you hear Microsoft Edge, you go Game Pass, Microsoft Cloud Gaming. It doesn't have to be. This affects games that are available in the browser. This makes visuals better on Stadia. It's not Xbox cloud gaming specific. This is a unifying thing. They're dealing with scaling and all kinds of things to sharpen edges and things like that. And good for them for not creating some sort of a internal proprietary thing. It's very similar to what they did with Netflix, right? Old Edge and Chromium Edge both supported Netflix and 4K in the browser, and last I checked, they're still the only one to allow that, and it's done through a standards thing. So anybody else, Hulu or HBO Max or whoever could take advantage of it too. I don't know if they have, but Netflix for sure has, which I think is pretty cool. And this is very similar. This is nobody has to do anything special to make this one work. It just works whether you're Microsoft or not. So that's pretty cool. Edge has been my default browser for quite a while, because obviously I use a lot more Microsoft services than I do anybody else, so it makes sense. But this is a huge thing for people who are gaming in the browser. So I look forward to seeing what they add in the future. Hopefully, we'll get some fine-grained capabilities in the efficiency mode if it's not there already. Maybe Clarity Boost even has some future potential in it, and maybe the gaming homepage has some customizations now. I'd like to see some additional capabilities. Tell it I am not interested in live streaming, for example, or maybe I'm heavily interested in it. Instead of just seeing one tile at the top, maybe you'd see more than one. I'd like some more customization there, but it's a great first start. This week's news from the tubes and F5 Live is proudly powered by Malwarebytes. Whether you use a PC, a Mac, or a mobile device, Malwarebytes Premium is the company's strongest protection ever. It fights threats that traditional antivirus software can't stop, plus standard things like worms, rogues, dialers, and a whole lot more. Use your computer and mobile devices with confidence and peace of mind. To learn more and get a special price, you can go to f5live.tv/malwarebytes. Another non-Google story when it comes to the web. The Brave Search, which is a competitor to Google and Bing, we talked about, 6 months ago maybe, that they were doing some interesting new stuff. This week, Brave Search is officially out of beta, bringing their privacy-focused search engine I'd say to the masses. It's been available, but when things are in beta, you can't necessarily rely on it because things are in flux, things are changing, things could be broken. But by saying that they're confident with it, that's a good sign for the future. The company announced some interesting milestones. Now, if you're comparing this to Google or Bing, these numbers won't be terribly exciting, but if you compare them to much of the rest of the industry, they certainly are. A total of 2.5 billion queries, even in beta, which is pretty impressive, and a peak of 14.1 million searches in a single day. Those are big numbers for a second level beta search engine. Those numbers are part of why they felt it was time to come out of beta. But of course, they're also confident with the search results, and so confident that they are actually giving you control over the results. You can go in and customize a number of factors on your search results to weed out certain types of things, especially if you're doing niche type searches. For me, the word construct might be very different than a sociology student, right? They're incredibly different meanings. I can actually focus down to certain types of results, which I think is pretty cool. And again, it's all privacy focused, which we know there has been concern as Google keeps changing their plans on what the future of search tracking is. There's been a lot of concerns over that. So here you have a company focused on privacy. It's interesting. Yeah. Have you given it a shot?
So yes, so I'm curious about something. How is
Sure.
it you're supposed to change the criteria for
Yes.
relevancy? Because I'm been on their site and I don't see any way to do that.
All right. So
I just see you
let
can
me
narrow the time, which Google also allows.
um, let me let me find this real quick. Um, I had I had a link to the instructions, and I'm planning on putting together a how-to on this in the next day or two. Because I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember exactly how it works. Which isn't great, right? It's not great that it's not straight up front. Um, let's
Hmm.
see. Uh, um, Here we go. We're gonna do this live again. um, so you do your search, show more units of measure appearance. This isn't it. Nope. Okay. Um, I have the instructions open in the other room. Um, I wish I had them in here right now because it's been a couple of days since I was messing with this. Um, I wonder if I might have to be in the other browser. Anyway, I'm gonna put together a how-to on this because you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's not easy to do, but what it's not easy to remember where it is. I guess is
Right.
the
Right.
reality of
So
it.
that would be an issue because if it's some kind of, if it's a key feature, it should be discoverable. But I mean, I think certainly there's an appetite. There might be an appetite for this kind of thing. I mean, people certainly are worried about their privacy, although I think it needs to be proven to them that this is good for privacy. So I don't know. Uh, you know, it seems like this, in order to be really trustworthy, it would have to be open in some way. It'd have to be an open, you know, open, maybe not run by a business search engine. But I don't know.
Interestingly, I believe this is open source. If I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong, but I think it
Hmm,
is.
hmm,
Obviously, I'm gonna have to.
interesting.
Obviously, I'm gonna have to do some research on that to be sure. But I believe the search is at least based on the open source DuckDuckGo search. So at least a good portion of it is open source.
Right, but it's still run by a company that is in business to make a profit. I don't
That's
know.
true.
I mean, I don't know that that necessarily taints it, but I mean, if you're trying to present yourself, it's like, hey, look, we're the anti Google. Um, then I kind of would expect, I don't know, some type of organization that was a little bit more above the fray
Mm-hmm.
of business to be the one presenting it. I mean, I don't I don't know. I don't like the look of it as much as it's Google, and of course, I'm irritated because I see that this article that I've been trying to really pump up of mine in search is actually ranked much lower on this than it is in Google. So don't use Brave because resistor color code, which we're working so hard to get up in the top three. We are number like 9 or something on Brave, but number 6 on Google. So um,
That's funny.
The gaming PC under $500 and see it. See if I come how I come up
1,
there.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Resistor color code. Searching just for resistor color code, you come up number 6 on Brave for me.
Oh, okay. And maybe it's because I put resistor. That's funny. I'm coming up as well. You know what? I'm coming up as I guess 7, but that's only if you skip the videos and the discussions, and the people also ask. But that's still 7, right? Or 8. Anyway, who knows? I'll put in a pitch for that. I mean, that's an interesting pitch point, but we've worked Les Pounder, our associate editor, worked his butt off to create the ultimate guide to decoding resistors. So
that's really funny. I've got somewhere around here, possibly here even in the studio, I've got the old Radio Shack wheel where you could turn it and it would tell you the color code for whatever you were trying to do. It's around here somewhere.
So a friend of mine at work asked why they don't just put the print numbers on them, and I really don't have an answer for that. But
in fairness, all of ours had both. By the time the end of Radio Shack happened, at least for me, the resistors, at least the ones that were modern, the resistors had both the color code and the number on them.
Not any that I have bought, and I have bought them all since the fall of Radio Shack, I think. So anyway,
maybe whoever our supplier was needs to step up the marketing on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why. I mean, it's not like there's selling them internationally. People wouldn't understand numbers, so I don't know what it is, but anyway, yeah, this Brave thing looks fine. I mean, good for them for trying to make a dent.
And you know, we talk about this particularly during events like, say, Collision, right? Where we like to say that, you know, there are some products that are products and some that are mad science experiments. The mad science experiments may never make a branded dent in their marketplace, but they might push some of the big players in their space to do some stuff. And, you know, in the end, if that's what this does, then, you know, it's at least accomplished its job. So it might just simply be something as basic as Microsoft or Google sees some of the things that people like about this and tries to head in that direction. Who knows? But, you know, competition and new ideas are never a bad thing, even if the end result isn't necessarily successful.
Yep.
This week's DRM Not Included on F5 Live is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. You know you get free shipping sometimes next day, but you get a whole lot more. Free music with Amazon Prime Music, free TV, movies, and documentaries with Amazon Prime Video, free games, and a free Twitch subscription to support the content creator of your choice with Amazon Prime Gaming, and a whole lot more. We've got quick links to these features, plus some of our other favorites, plus a 30-day free trial if you're not already a subscriber. And don't forget that Amazon Prime Day is coming up in just a couple of weeks, so now would be the time to get familiar. You can find all of it by going to f5live.tv/prime. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. There's been rumors for a long time that it was coming, and it looks like it's officially here, or at least on the horizon. A new ad-supported tier on Netflix. Pretty much everybody else has either done it or talked about it. And with Netflix being, for the most popular plan, the most expensive streaming platform in the industry. It definitely needs something to be able to compete. They had their only first subscriber loss in over a decade this first quarter, which wasn't great, and that doesn't account for all the subscriber loss due to shutting down in Russia. You and I talk all the time, Avram, about how we're always right on the teetering edge of whether or not it's worth staying
Yep.
subscribed, because there's just not as much interesting new content as there used to be. And then they've created some controversies with their content in kind of all directions. So, they need to do something. And right now, price seems to be the place that they're playing. If you look at a number of the other services, the price difference between the ad supported and the non-ad supported on Hulu is about a 46% discount to go with the ad supported. On Peacock, it's a 50% discount. So it's possible that $15.49 plan from Netflix could come down into the $7.50 range. I don't know that it necessarily would. Probably more in the $7.99 or $8.99 range is my suspicion, but they haven't talked about it. What we do know is that they are talking, since their goal is to save money and to bring more revenue in. Creating a new division in the company is not the way to do it. So they are looking at outsourcing their advertising buy. Currently, they're looking at two companies, Google and Comcast's Freewheel division. So likely one of those two will be in charge of the ads that you see. The current rumblings are that they will just be pre-roll ads, but something tells me that's not the way it's going to end up being when it comes to real life, especially since TV shows are mostly shot with spots for commercials already built in.
But how are they going to handle that, considering that all of their current content, I assume, hasn't been filmed with that in mind?
I don't know. When I watch their content, I can feel the places where commercials are intended. Going back to the first season of Stranger Things, so we're going back several years. I can feel the point where if they were to license the content to be on TBS, would I only choose that because they do a lot of licensed content, I can see where the ads would go.
Yeah, I mean, they must have been thinking about that to an extent, so maybe. But I have definitely had, I don't know what services, I've definitely had some ad support services where it's quite random where the ads show up, and it's not like it came to a certain point where, oh man, this is the moment for an ad.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess it depends. But I mean, I think it's a good idea for them to do it, considering that they're a very expensive service, and people are very tempted to.
Their lowest plan is $9.99 a month, and it's only in standard definition.
Yep. Yep. Whereas I don't think anybody else is doing that, where you have to pay extra for the for higher def, right?
Nobody that I know of.
I think everything is just whatever the highest you can do now. I mean, that used to be a gimmick, right? But I know for a fact I would not pay extra for like 4K. I mean, I like it, but I wouldn't pay extra.
Right.
And I have a whole bunch of plans that give me like 4K if I can do it. So yeah, I don't think that yeah. You know what? Here's my advice to Netflix, besides just making better content that people actually want and spreading things out, maybe more over releasing things 1 week at a time or whatever. They should have an annual plan.
Agreed.
because they should give you a discount for subscribing, prepaying a year. I
Agreed.
much prefer the annual things that I signed up for because I don't think about them on a month to month. Like, oh man, did I get my money's worth this month at a BritBox?
Right.
No, it's like, oh, that's okay because when the end of the year comes around, it's like, oh, did I use it this year? Yeah, I did. So if
Yeah.
I didn't do a lot of watching of it in July, that's okay.
That's okay.
But it's also not so crazy expensive that you feel bad. Um, but when something is coming out of your credit card every month, you kind of feel it more. So they should have an annual plan. They should give you some kind of a discount for subscribing annually.
Yeah, they should be talking to us
Yeah,
about some
I mean,
ideas.
most other services have that. I
Hmm.
feel like now. I mean, Disney Plus has it. Um, Paramount has it.
Hmm.
I don't know about HBO Max. Maybe HBO Max doesn't. But there's a
Even
lot of services that are
even Pure VPN has it.
right. Right. Exactly. So yeah, I think I think you real. I mean, I think it would do them. It would be smart for them, but having commercials also smart.
Yeah, and Kirk and I talked about this Friday night. It's not it's not the service that I'm gonna go with, right? Like that. If I wasn't gonna have Netflix, having the ability to pay a little less and have ads is not the thing that's gonna get me to join. But this isn't aimed at me. Um, Advertisements generally something that I go out of my way to avoid. Um,
I don't know. I will save money and watch the ads.
See, and
That's
that's exactly
um
it. That's why it's a good idea. If they only asked me, this would never happen. But this service isn't targeted at me.
I mean, I just feel bad enough for spending the money I do on spending as much money as I do on being entertained.
Yeah,
So if they're like, yeah, you have to be annoyed a little bit and watch some commercials, I will. I can't. It's not even that I couldn't afford the extra, whatever, however many dollars a month necessarily. It's just like that just seems like a waste of money to pay for the I don't know convenience.
yeah, yeah. I totally get it. It the theory is totally sound with me. I have my own different struggles with it. Ads just drive me crazy. And yes, I know we have them on the show. And if you were subscribed over on YouTube, you wouldn't have to listen to them. But but um, but yeah, it's to each their own, and that's why you have subscription options, right? We offer this show for free on YouTube, and then behind the paywall, we offer the ad-free version and some other stuff. But for me, that would be the thing to get rid of the ads. I do it on Twitch too. Uh, I I subscribe to channels that I watch a lot specifically to get rid of the ads. So you know, everybody's different,
Yeah.
and that's why we have options. Which and having more options in this case is definitely a good thing. We don't know all the details about this yet. Price, availability, none of that. We have heard that fourth quarter of this year is what they're hoping for. So October, November, December, somewhere in there is where the new tier will come to market. And if we were to base it on the rest of the industry, 45 to 50% discount is about what we're seeing in general. But I don't suspect that Netflix is going to go for that. It'll probably be more in like the $8.99 range is my guess. I have nothing to base that on except their track record. So I'm guessing that it'll be a little less than the standard definition without ads. And I don't know if we'll get a standard definition with ads. Maybe. I will. Everything is speculation. And hopefully they will start giving us some additional information to end some of that speculation very soon. Well, that is our show. Thank you for joining us. If you joined us live, we always appreciate that. If you didn't and would like to in the future, Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, you can go to f5live.tv/join us. Find us over on YouTube, find us on Twitch, and join us live right there. Chat with us in the studio, give us your feedback as we talk. We always enjoy that. As a reminder, we will be off for the next, I think, 2 Sundays because I will be away on projects and my first vacation of substance since the show started 15 years ago. So almost all of my travel is because of this show. So I'm doing something different this time. So I'll be gone for a couple of weeks, and then Strike will be opening July 15th. If you're in the area, come check us out, strikeesports.com. Really excited about all of that. We'll have more information on the website. Follow us on social. And same for PLUGHITZ Live. Follow us on social for updates. We've got a little bit of social change coming. We're going to start, mixing in some funny stuff, not just our own content. See how that goes. Anyway, that was a lot of information, and I apologize, but it is the last show for a little while, so I want to get all that out there. But with that, on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Abram.
And we'll see you back in 2 weeks. Ciao.